Down to Biscayne.
Yikes. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frogs. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust.
You sound scared.
It's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat. Y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
Welcome back to 5 on the Floor. It's a rough one. We come to you post-game. I am your host, Greg Sylvander. Tonight's floor plan with me, Digital Adel. We are going to dive into what was a heartbreaker. The Miami Heat lose 111-110 to the Sacramento Kings at home. The Heat have now lost 3 of 4 at home to start the season. And the 3 home games that I'm referencing are all against teams that you would want to be in the same tier with. So they're measuring stick games, at least early on. I know that it's small samples, but they lose another tight one. We're going to get into all of the impactful players, plays. There's lots of stuff to talk about here. It was a crazy game down the stretch. We watched it on playback. Shout out to the crew there that watches with us. Want to shout out Off the Floor. That is our Discord server. It is where you can get the most heat anywhere. Content, conversation, intel, it's all right there. Off the Floor, $2.99, $3.99 on your Apple device. Link is right here in the description. Check out Off the Floor. That is where you will find the most heat content anywhere. Adele, this was rough, and I'm going to start here. These damn third quarters. They were outscored by 20 in the third quarter, 37-17. It puts them in these positions where then we have to nitpick the end of games and what guys didn't do and who didn't box out Domas when he got to that, shot we'll talk about later. But if you didn't have such a stinky third quarter, again, what is up with that? Like, from your perspective, what is happening in the third quarter where they're not responding? And we're seeing this time and time again where they're getting throttled. We'll get into the individual plays and we'll get into each player here in a minute, but just your takeaways on the game in general, but specifically why they keep giving up these third quarters and bleeding out.
So to address the third quarter specifically, I think it's a number of factors. It's not just one thing. It's a variety of different things that keep popping up. And so in this game in particular, we talked about before the show started, we got to be very mindful of our paint points versus the Sacramento Kings, as well as second chance points. And we were getting beat up in the paint. Like, we may have had good rebounding numbers overall, but we really didn't rebound well where it mattered, and we didn't defend the paint. So what happened in the third quarter, we got the lead being built off of 3-point shooting. Like, we were shooting like 60%, like almost something crazy in that first half. Sacramento was shooting 21% from 3 in that first half, but they were killing us in the paint. And so one of the things we identified on the show was this can't continue. We're not going to keep shooting that high a percentage. They're not going to keep shooting that low of percentage. So if we don't stop the bleeding inside, they're going to come back. And so if you watched what happened in that third quarter, our outside shooting went away. Our spacing in turn then got really, muddied and convoluted because they started packing the paint. They weren't really respecting our outside shooting as much. And then you started getting these really weird combinations out of Spo. Like, he started playing Jay Rich and then sticking with Jay Rich through a lot of missed shots, a lot of poor defense, a lot of fouls. That's what was really befuddling to me in this particular game was how long Spo stuck with Jay Rich. Now, big picture view, there might have been a reason for that. Maybe, there was a reason that might go back some years to give him an extra look. maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that he gives Josh the benefit of the doubt to try to get himself right and play and give him the minutes. I think you're onto something there for sure.
Absolutely. And so I think that all contributed to the difficult third quarter that we had. And I don't think in any one game it's the same thing. I think it's something different every game.
That's frustrating because it keeps happening in the same quarter, but it seems like there's just a lack of attention to detail and energy and effort. And sometimes just some of the offense that happened in the third quarter was it was surprising to see. There were some good things to take away from this. We're going to get to our first segment, and that is our aggressive player of the night. Let's get to that now.
And now it's time for the A-Aggressive Insurance Player of the Night, sponsored by our friend Lynette. You can find her at insurancebylynette.com. That's with 2 N's and 2 T's, insurancebylynette.com. If you need car insurance, renter's insurance, homeowner's insurance, or any other type of insurance, she's the person to go to. Based in Lauderhill, she services the entire Tri-County area here in South Florida, and she will make sure to get you the best deal. She'll probably talk to you about the heat while you're at it. Reach out to her, insurancebylynette.com. And now, the player of the game.
So listen, this is probably going to be controversial on a night where the Heat came up short and they lost on their home floor. So let's just establish that once again. Jimmy Butler had 27 on 9 of 19 shooting, 6 assists. Tyler Hero had 27 on 9 of 18 shooting with 6 rebounds, 3 assists. They had performances from different guys, but I'm giving it to Pele Larsson. And I know that there's guys on the Sacramento side, but this is not a Sacramento Kings show. So we're going in the direction of what positive can I take from this? And it was Pele Larsson. The way he played, he was 4 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 13 points in 25 minutes, had a couple rebounds, couple assists, played tough defense. Also, I like the fact that they put him out there with the starters, and we got to see what that looked like a bit. I thought that was interesting, or at least a semblance of the starters, not exactly the starters, obviously. But Adele, your thoughts on Pele Larsson tonight, and also just the overall play. We want to give Jimmy, Tyler, those guys a shout out because they played well, but this was a loss. So I feel weird being like, pumping those guys up on a night where they clearly came up short. So I'm kind of looking at Pele as the bright spot here. What did you like from him most?
Man, I thought Pele was really impactful on both ends of the floor with his physicality on defense. I mean, his defense is excellent, man. He's in the passing lanes. He fights you tooth and nail. He'll rebound the basketball, and he's a knockdown shooter. He knocked down his open opportunities, and he gives you a little bit more finishing in the lane. I mean, for a second round pick, for where we picked him at 44 in the second round, home run of a pick, man. Home run of a pick. He's been excellent. I like the lineups that he played in. I like the fact that he got in there with a lot of the starters. Spo went to a really interesting lineup at one point in the game. Jay Rich, Burks, Tyler, Pele, and Thomas Bryant.
Oh, gosh. That was one that we had to make sure we noted because it was a weird one. It was one of those nights.
It was just one of those odd Spo, mad scientist. I'm going to throw all these different lineups together, see who works well together. And the good news is since you brought Pele up, he did play well in every single one of those lineups. He did. He played well with everybody. I do want to shout out Tyler. I know that we're shouting out Pele, but I do want to shout out Tyler as well. The Miami Heat fans during some free throws in the fourth quarter were shouting MVP.
Yeah.
A Tyler Hero.
He deserves it so far. He's been the best player on the team so far this season.
He's been sensational to start the season. Sensational. And he's the only one that shot his free throws well tonight, 80% from the free throw line. So shout out to Tyler for that. But no, Pele's clearly the bright spot of the game, and he's what stood out most as player of the game. That's super encouraging for him, and I could see him sticking in the rotation.
Agree, and that'll be interesting to watch how they integrate him and if they continue to give him opportunities. We'll see going forward. With Duncan Robinson and Jaime Jaquez, it can get crowded back there, but I think that they definitely have wing depth that they can lean into in ways that maybe we underestimated to some degree, just as well as Pele looked. He looks like he's going to stick. You're right about that. Switching gears a bit to the free throw shooting, because they outshot Sacramento. They took double the amount of free throw attempts. I'm looking at this here. They took 30 free throws. Sacramento only took 15. So that's home cooking. But they only shot 21 of 30, 70%. Sacramento shot 86, almost 87% from the line. This seems like another reoccurring theme where they're leaving points on the table because they're missing free throws. And it also starts with guys like Jimmy, guys like Bam. I mean, Jimmy was 8 of 11 tonight, but I'd actually like him to be more like 10 of 11. Bam was 2 of 5 from the free throw line. That's not good enough. It's an interesting thing here. It's the third quarters. It's the details when you get down to free throw shooting. And actually, let's get to the play of the night, because that'll kind of sum up the other area that's really hurting this team: rebounding.
And now it's time for the X-Ray of the Play of the Day, brought to us by our friends over at Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services. Nelson and his team will bring the X-ray equipment and the staffing to you if you work in a hospital or a medical office. Get a consultation today at c-armandstaffing.com or give them a call at 561-891-9620. Their fleet of trucks at your service. Again, it's Mobile C-Arm and Staffing Services, 561-891-9620. And now, the X-Ray of the Play of the Day.
So it's going to hurt Heat fans. It happened with 2 seconds left. A layup, well, actually a little sooner than 2 seconds left. De'Aaron Fox missed a 12-foot turnaround fadeaway in the lane, but Domas Sabonis got the offensive rebound and made a 10-foot floater to give Sacramento what would be the game-winning basket, 111-110. And the key thing there was with 2 seconds left, the Heat gave up an offensive rebound. This is something that, with a team that lacks size, it's been in the games that have been difficult, they've had struggles on the boards consistently. Is there anything we're missing that they can do personnel-wise? I know that people are going to say, try where. I don't know that that's really it. I feel like they've exhausted all of their options as it relates to their best rebounding combinations. Is there anything I'm missing there? What do you think about the rebounding woes early in the season?
Where's Kello? Where?
Right? That's what most fans are asking.
That is exactly what most fans are asking. I'll be honest with you. Jaime Jaquez Jr. was sick. He had an illness. I would like to see Jaime play more. So here, I want to talk about Nico. Nico has been he hasn't played well. He hasn't played well for several games, in my opinion. Despite if he had 10 points or not one of the games, I just felt he hasn't played well. He hasn't played with very much physicality and force, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bam cannot rebound everything. Bam cannot box out everybody. It's a 5-man task. The guards got to be better at it. The wings got to be better at it. But Nico needs to be better at it. Can't just give you 4 or 5 rebounds a night when nobody's around him and the ball comes to him. He's got to box people out. He's got to be more forceful on the glass, in my opinion. Tonight's play in particular, though, is on the guards and on Jimmy Butler specifically, to be honest. What happened on that play was Pelle Larsson guarding De'Aaron Fox whenever he was driving to his strong left hand. Fox put his shoulder into him, bumped him a little bit, spun back the other way. Jimmy tried to overplay for the block. His man slid into that gap, took the space. So then it was Bam and Impella digging in and somebody else from the other corner trying to box out 3 or 4 people at once. And that's how the ball got tipped around and then into Sabonis' hands. So really it's 5 guys boxing out, but I do have a problem with Nico myself personally. They don't have anybody else to start over him. Kello Ware's not starting over him at this point. He's going to have to find it inside himself to be better on the glass, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's a great point. He only played 12 minutes tonight. I mean, you're talking Thomas Bryant played 12 minutes. Alec Burks played 12 minutes. Duncan Robinson played 13 minutes. They really went with Pele down the stretch. And Jay Rich for extended stretches. He played 21 minutes as well. I think you're onto something that, and I've continued to say this, if they're going to make a change in the starting lineup along the way here, if losses pile up on this road trip, because this is one they really needed this game. We called it a swing game going in. They're not going to, they're not going to go out on the road. I know they're 3-3, but you needed to stack up some of these early home victories. It's a tough one. And if they're going to make a starting lineup change, I would predict that it would be Jovic that they look at to shift somebody out. It's just, who is that player? Because I don't see anybody really rising up that makes a ton of sense. So you might be onto something that they kind of just have to figure it out. And it's not about them even changing up the lineup as much as these guys figuring it out on their own, which we haven't seen a ton of evidence that this starting group can work. So I think Heat fans get a little nervous at that. We're going to hit our last segment. That is our real estate shop defending the house. And then we will close up shop here on 5 on the Floor.
And now it's time for our Defending the House segment, sponsored by our friends over at The Real Estate Shop. You can find them at realestateshopfl.com. That's with 2 P's and an E, realestateshopfl.com, or at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram. This is Javier Iglesias and Amanda Martin. They help buyers and sellers in real estate. They're nimble and protective of their clients. They service the entire Tri-County area. That's Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach counties with a proven on-market strategy. The Real Estate Shop sellers earn the most money in the shortest time frame because Amanda and Javier have a deep understanding of the local market. So check them out. Again, it's at the Fort Lauderdale Realtor on Instagram, realestateshopfl.com, or give them a call at 954-268-9812. And now, who defended the house?
Obviously, no one defended the house well enough because the Heat did come up short. It pains me. The way that game ended, it just was a gut punch. But with 38 seconds left, DeMar DeRozan, who is notoriously a player who eats Miami alive, went up for an 18-foot jumper and got blocked on the right wing by Tyler Hero. So I'm going to shout that out as the defending the house play of the night. But overall, it's like winning a battle amongst a war that you lost ultimately. So it's nothing to write home about, nothing to brag about, but it was a good play at the time. And had the Heat closed out this game, Adele, maybe it would have been the play of the night that way. Anything else on the defense, maybe on Sacramento's side, or just generally that you think we need to touch on before we close up the podcast? And we definitely want to shout out our user on Playback who came with the super chats and everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely shout out to Donnie 730 and Playback, man. Big time support. Appreciate you with the power chat. And one thing I want to bring up, that play was enormous at the time. Nobody expected Tyler to strip DeRozan on that play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was just an enormous play in the game. And to be honest with you, it was a gamble because very easily could have ended up in a foul, but he just guessed right and had perfect timing with it. And it ended up being a strip. So great job by Tyler Hero there. Thomas Bryant is very concerning to me. That is, I think that's important to touch on. I think the audience at large wanted us to touch on it. I think Thomas Bryant is very, very concerning. And it's been this way for quite a few years. The Miami Heat have neglected this position. Backup center for Bam. We went through on Playback how many backup centers, the Tristan Da Silvas, the Dwayne Dedmans, all those guys. And Thomas Bryant, God bless him. Wish him nothing but the best success. But him and Cole Schweider can room together.
Did you say Tristan Da Silva earlier?
Yeah, I did.
Was he was never in Miami, was he?
Did I give the wrong name? My bad. What's Da Silva's name? The De Silva, the Mohawk. He had a Mohawk. He was our backup center at one point.
It's completely.
Am I like making up a name? I swear he was with the Miami Heat.
It could be.
He was one of the undrafted projects. He was a project. He was in our summer league system for like 2 to 3 seasons, and then he finally started getting run. I'm probably just giving a wrong name. Something De Silva.
Yeah, it could be me just having a senior moment as we move through this show. But that's funny. The defensive stuff here, they're going to need to clean that up out west. I think that the teams out there are scoring points to the point where Miami's going to have to get up a ton of threes and hope that the defense works. That's going to be an interesting formula. We will have you covered for all the games out west. Want to shout out our sponsors, also plug off the floor. Adele, thank you for joining. Look, y'all, Major is not the bad omen for every Heat loss. This is a post-game show with 2 regular contributors, and the Heat lost anyway, unfortunately. 111-110. I am Greg Sylvander. Thank you again to Adele. We will have you covered for the Heat as they embark on their road trip out west. I think the first game's in Phoenix. Ethan will have you covered for that one, and then we will have you covered for the next one in Detroit to close out the week. Thanks.
See you.